I want to talk about gym trainers, not gym leaders, gym trainers. Those guys that you either skip or try to avoid because they're pushovers and you don't want to battle them. I don't like them either, but I don't think it has to be this way. What's up YouTube, it's your favorite cloud chaser Oaken64 coming at you with a new video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get on to the video. Let me make this 100% clear. I have not made a game, I am not a game developer. What I have is experience just playing RPGs and an understanding of the reasons why I do things and a limited pool of why others do things. This is just a thought experiment for those who do make Pokemon game content, like ROM hacks and fan games. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Gym trainers are nothing but a second thought for most players, as they are seen as obstacles from the get-go. In most early gyms, the trainers are entirely avoidable. You can just avoid them by walking past or around them. People tend to skip the early trainers, mostly because they can be an inconvenience to some players, who don't think the upside of battling them is greater than the convenience of skipping them. On the other hand, battling these trainers nets you EXP and money, resources to make the upcoming gym battle easier. This presents a legitimate trade-off for the player. You can skip these trainers, but you'll probably have a tougher time as your team lacks the experience necessary to compete, and you will not have the funds to heal them, turning what could be a gauntlet of trainers to a singular boss fight against a gym leader. When it comes down to what a gym is in Pokemon, I would liken it to a dungeon that you'd find in most RPGs, where you go into a dungeon deeper and deeper until you fight the boss and win. You don't think about the lackeys who are the most numerous, you are only thinking about the boss. Why would you think about them anyways? Because that is where I think you can make them shine. I would like to use an example from a different RPG I've played, the Denpa Men 3. To keep it short, you have 8 party members who can equip an element to themselves. Independent of their antenna power, there is a water dungeon that has a bunch of different types of enemies. Most of them are weak to electricity, all except one, the Shark Barnacle. The Shark Barnacle has a resistance to electricity and often uses itself to defend enemies from electric attacks. The boss even employs this by spawning them to take electric attacks for it. There's also another enemy. They're still weak to thunder, but they are considerably stronger than most other enemies in the area, being able to attack the whole team and being harder to kill. How does this translate into Pokemon? Simple. You just let the gym leaders have more than just Pokemon of their type, and have a stronger distinction of gym trainers called a gym aid, in order to make sure that trainers aren't just hedging on the gym's weakness, forcing them to think a little more openly when it comes to combating the gym. This includes the ability for gym trainers to use Pokemon that you can encounter from anywhere in the game. It is rare for gym trainers to have Pokemon outside of their immediate area, and I don't think that helps them, because the earlier you go, the more limited their pool becomes, and I think both gym trainers and gym leaders alike should be allowed to pull from anywhere, whether it be early or late game. Them being limited by the area makes fights less appealing, because if you catch or see that Pokemon, you already know what they are capable of. But if gym trainers not only have Pokemon that can cover their weaknesses, but aren't able to be caught later in the game, it also provides the player with knowledge that this Pokemon could be caught later in the game in case you run into the same issue. Gym trainers can provide a unique challenge to the player if they are made to serve a purpose. They are to test if the player has adequate knowledge of the typing, with a deeper level of understanding when the gym order progresses. Pokemon isn't a new franchise, so most people who play it already have a deeper understanding. But what about those who don't? How do you tell a player a specific type interaction without telling them? Use trainers and their Pokemon. Picture this, the first gym is a psychic type gym, and one of the trainers has Gothita. Gothita has 2 weaknesses, and you can catch a ghost type before the gym, so you catch a Bramblin. But you also realize that it has a move Thief, and you need to switch it out because it's out damaging you with it. But then you switch into your starter, you take a bit of damage, so you think you can swap it to another Pokemon until you realize you can't. It's Shadow Tag Gothita. The fight isn't hard, as it will only have these 2 moves, but it also teaches the player a new specific type-based interactions. Ghost types are immune to trapping moves and abilities. You can have the trainer say something cryptic like, "You better start with your strongest, or you'll start here with me." And then, if the player does beat them, tell them that, "Did you know? Certain types have certain immunities to specific abilities." To further my point, let's take 2 gyms that I think do this rather well. Crasher Wake's gym in Pastoria, and Raihan's gym in Hammerlock, both for different reasons. Pastoria's gym has Fisherman Eric, who sports both a Barboach and a Gyarados, 2 Pokemon who trade one of their water type weaknesses, and gain a 4 times weakness to the other remaining weakness that the water type possesses, and a Golding. A very solid team to show you how type matchups can influence battles, even if you think that you have the advantage, while letting players know that if they hit them with a move that is 4 times effective, they become even more devastating towards that Pokemon. For the Hammerlock gym, you have to battle 3 trainers, all with a Pokemon that can set weather, and a Dragon type Pokemon that can benefit on the weather condition. All of these combinations, while being simple, is what Pokemon should be teaching new players what to think about when it comes to making teams. That certain combinations allow other Pokemon to shine in a specific way, especially since the format in Hammerlock Stadium is in doubles, which tend to be lacking in the mainline games despite being an extremely popular format for its depth and creativity. My ideal gym trainer would be a mix of these elements that I have discussed. A gym that teaches you more than just type interactions between what's super effective and what's not. It teaches you what you look up on Bulbapedia before you get befuddled by it. Let me show you an example. Hibiscus is a grass type gym leader and the 6th gym leader of a region. She loves flowers, loves them, but she understands that as a gardener that you can't plant flowers anywhere. The soil has to be just right, unless they will simply wilt and wither away. And when you challenge her gym, you're given 4 mulches, and are tasked with battling 4 trainers to get a specific berry and matching the berry to the mulch. If you're paying attention, you will notice that not only are the battles a double battle, but the grass type is always paired with a ground type that will have Earthquake, all except the last gym aid, Heart. He has a Rillaboom on his team, with Grassy Search, and his second Pokemon is Rhydon, with Drill and Smackdown. If you have a Pokemon with Levitate or is a flying type on the field, he will use Smackdown and ground it, allowing it to be hit by its Drill, its most powerful move in its arsenal, and... do you see it now? Let's rewind back for a second. Grassy Terrain is set, which passively heals all grounded Pokemon, but doesn't if you're flying. But if he uses Smackdown, then you're considered grounded, and gain the benefits of the terrain. On the other hand, you as the player have seen the Grass type plus Earthquake combination 3 times before. What makes this time so different, you may ask? Well, something is making him reconsider. When you beat him, he mentions, "I can't use the same strategy as my friends. The doggone terrain gets in the way," signaling that the terrain is preventing him from utilizing the same strategy. Of course, the gym leader will have a more refined strategy, utilizing Pokemon to cover their weaknesses and having a mostly grass focused team at the end of the day, but you can't mindlessly spam Flamethrower with a Pokemon until you win. Gyms teaching you more than "I can just use this star Pokemon so I win" is a good lesson to teach newer Pokemon fans than letting them clean house for every gym that they have an advantage in until they get to the Elite Four. By that point, they should be well equipped to deal with the myriad of Pokemon types. Thankfully, because of the gym leaders guiding them to vary their team building and being able to still provide a decent challenge to those who want it. Some last minute ramblings before I end off the video. I had watched King K's review on Pokemon X and Y and something that struck a chord with me. Pokemon's about a game of accessibility, and the fact that you can make your own challenge using your self-imposed rules is what makes Nuzlocke so appealing. I don't want to really take that away. I could have made gyms strictly harder by barring the players from leaving or making you unable to use healing items while fighting the gym. But I think if you as a player aren't getting challenged by it, how about imposing a challenge on yourself? Why not go through all of it without healing? What about making it so you can't use a Pokemon that has an obvious advantage in the gym? I really do think that's the beauty of Pokemon, that with the right amount of knowledge you can trivialize most fights. On the other hand, you can make a fight an absolute nightmare because you put yourself into a corner and put too many restrictions on yourself. But you can still come out on top, beaten and bruised, but a stronger trainer afterwards. When I had looked up the gym leaders for this video, I had thought that they had become easier because I just didn't have a challenge with them. But I mean, most of them are just okay. Like, for instance, Opal. She has a Mawile and Weezing. Weezing's actually a really interesting Pokemon for its fairy type gym leader, but Mawile is kind of unfortunate because it's just really understated for the location that she's in. If she was like the 2nd gym leader, she'd probably be a lot more of a challenge, but since she's the 5th, at that point you probably have a fire type or a ground type that could probably deal with it, or just overpower it because it's just not statted enough. Even with a Pokemon that doesn't have a good type matchup against it, just overpowers it. And there are more Pokemon that the player can encounter to help with the gym's weakness the more you go. So I really don't like that most gym leaders, or most late gym leaders tend to be ice types, because they kind of just get handled very easily. If ice types were like the 1st or 2nd gym leader, it would be fine. But since they're like normally like the 7th or 8th, it's just whatever. I think this is why I like the Blueberry's Elite Four so much. Put a lot less of a focus on type, and I think it works wonders in some instances. I think the main one is like Crispin and Drayton. I mean, all of them are fine, but you know, it's mostly just the idea of making gyms less type focused and more. You use this type mainly to convey another thing, like how Raihan's gym conveys weather by using dragon types, because most of them can benefit off of at least one weather type. Well, you made it to the end of the video. I'm still working on my road to 100 subscribers. If I make it to 100 subscribers, I make it review of Pokemon Reborn. So if you can help me make my way towards that goal, that would be very much appreciated. And with that, that is Open64 signing out.